Welcome one, welcome all to Jasiri here on News Central Television, the award-winning channel. We start with the biggest story in Nigeria right now, which is President Bola Tinubu declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State, suspending the Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, as well as the State House of Assembly. The president said that due to the severe breakdown of governance and persistent security challenges, the federal government would assume direct control of Rivers State for an initial period of 6 months. Retired Vice Admiral Ibok has been named the administrator to oversee state affairs during this transition. Now, the state reconstituted administration will enforce strict legal measures, and any act of insubordination or any attempt to undermine the transitional government will result in severe penalties, including extended suspension and legal actions. These measures are designed to ensure that all state actors comply with the new directives aimed at restoring law, order, and effective governance.
Now, the crisis in Rivers has been brewing for a while. It began with deep-seated political conflicts between Governor Fubara and state legislators, many of whom were aligned with the former governor and current minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. Now, along the line, the State House of Assembly complex was demolished, and there was back and forth over defections, budgets, and who was in control. On February 28, 2025, the Supreme Court, rather than dousing the tension and putting issues to rest, seemed to even add fuel to the fire with its judgment. Then on Tuesday, an explosion rocked the Trans-Niger pipeline at Bodo Gokana local government area of Rivers State. The blame for the explosion has been laid at the feet of militants who have been threatening to attack all installations in response to the federal government's withholding of Rivers State allocation due to the ongoing political crisis. Now let's listen to President Tinubu.
Soberly reflected on and evaluated the political situation in Rivers State, and the governor and deputy governor of Rivers State having failed to make a request to me as president to issue this proclamation as prescribed by Section 305, Paragraph 5 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it has become inevitably compelling for me to invoke the provision of the Section 305 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, to declare a state of emergency in Rivers State with effect from today, 18th March, year 2025, and I so do. By this declaration, the governor of Rivers State, Mr. Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, Mrs. Ngozi Odu, and all elected members of the House of Assembly State are hereby suspended for an initial period of 6 months.
All right, so while some view the declaration of a state of emergency as a necessary step toward re-establishing effective governance, others worry about the long-term impacts on local democracy, and some have called this an act of annexing the state. The coming months will be critical in determining whether these interventions can set Rivers State on a new, more stable course or not. As the state of emergency takes effect, the nation watches closely, and we'll be live in Rivers State with correspondent Ibala Omoni throughout today and over the next several days as we follow these developments closely. But now, let's take some reactions.
We export to, some people are blowing up pipelines to achieve their political agendas. The economy that was already shit, pardon my language, is about to get way worse. Is there a working brain in this administration?
The state of emergency in Rivers is just the latest example of Bola Tinubu's inability to govern effectively. This is not leadership, it's an abuse of power. The citizens of Nigeria must demand more, as they deserve leadership that prioritizes their needs, not political games and self-serving maneuvers. The president of Nigeria just declared state of emergency in Rivers State. Very bad. I'm not in support of this declaration by the president. Why state of emergency in a state of no crisis, just between Wike and Fubara? I think the government is taking sides on Rivers issue. Nigeria as a country is already in a fragile situation with so many agitating groups. Suspending an elected governor for an issue that you would have ordered Wike to stay clear from and face his ministerial job, but rather you have chosen to set Nigeria ablaze.
BAT did the right thing. Fubara really has weird and terrorist behaviors. You're starving the people of Rivers because you want to hang on to power. He demolished House of Assembly. He's bombing oil facilities, all because of being power drunk after breaking agreements that he made with the devil. Okay.
Very funny. While there are constitutional justifications for declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State, the political and legal risks make it a highly controversial move. The crisis would likely lead to escalate further into full-blown anarchy before the federal government could justify such an action without severe backlash.
If Fubara had the strength and strategy, he would have taken full control, suspending all opposing assembly members and asserting his authority in the state. This situation only exposes his weakness in handling power. This is a welcome initiative by the president. He had to take care of things before things begins to go south. They've gone south. So you can see that in terms of this situation, even before the president did his broadcast yesterday, there has been a clear divide in terms of sort of the side of the aisle people are on. But now with the declaration of a state of emergency, a lot more questions have been raised. I've been listening to a lot of legal analysis, and there are many who are saying that the president doesn't in fact have the power to suspend a sitting governor who was duly elected, that there are several things in the Constitution in how an elected governor, an elected official can be removed, including impeachment, possible death, a sickness for a temporary removal, but being suspended is not one of them. There was one lawyer, I think it was Festus Ogun was speaking this morning, talking about the power of exemption, that when it comes to certain things in the Constitution, if it's not stated as a reason or a justification, then it is not something that is a legal reason or justification. But there's a lot of other contrary views. People have also mentioned that former President Olusegun Obasanjo did it with Plateau State and Joshua Dariye as well. I think there was a situation in Ekiti at one time as well. So whether there's a precedent, some have said even that precedent is an illegal precedent, and we should not be looking at a bad precedent that was set, whether it happened then or it's happening now. So it's a lot that is happening, and 6 months is a rather long time.
No, this one, it just means that it's like a done deal. I'm just worried for the country, and I think about River State and what's the gravity of if law and order breaks loose. We're already battling with a lot of things in the East presently, looking at the stay-at-home, we are looking at the IPOB issue, we are looking at so many pockets of violence here and there, not to talk of these cattle people, herdsmen that are still wreaking havoc in little places and doing the most. The nation is on the brink, honestly. And this Fubara against Wike issue is so sensitive that even when I saw Tolu this morning, the first thing I asked was, what's going to happen? What is going to happen? Because it's like, this is like a power tussle that a lot of people will say is personal. But now a whole state is being affected by these two powers that seem to be butting heads.
But the funny thing is, the state has been affected for a while. Since almost, I won't say it was only the demolition, even up to the demolition of the State House of Assembly in December 2023, and it's been about 14 months now. So you wonder how much governance has even happened that is for the people of the state. How have you been able to move forward the issues that concern the people of the states? Now we have a federal allocation issue. It involves salaries, it involves projects that the state may have. So right now it just seems that River State has almost been grounded when it comes to governance, because what is it that the African proverb says? When two elephants fight, is the grass that's suffering. In this situation, unfortunately, the people of River State become the grass, and they're the ones suffering as these two elephants are fighting.
And speaking of, doing things for the people, my question is, how much input did, I know that, at some point the president did try, but I don't think that there was much effort put into resolving the issue. That's number one. Number two, the state of emergency is basically for the people, but we know the country that we're in. If you take the, would I say, laws now, or you take governance farther from the people, it's going to be hard for them to be represented. It's going to be hard for them to get allocation. So now, just like Tolu said, the people are going to suffer it more.
I think for me, the Rivers people have not had stability. Governance power is just to be in their state, bereft of confusion, conflicts, war, whatever power tussle is going on. And I think Wike, with all due respect, has been allowed to do as
run
he
riot
pleases in River State. Everybody knows how Wike came into governance. Everybody knows Wike has fought with practically everybody. He has fought with the former
even his
governor.
previous sort of godfather.
Yes. The former governor, Rotimi Amechi. He has fought with everybody who knows. So this was waiting to happen. No one in politics can confidently say on God they didn't see that this would happen ultimately. And I think that's what Wike was aiming for. You aim for there to be chaos and for, it's almost as if they set a trap for Fubara to walk in so that it can ensnare him. And now, what you wanted, you set out to achieve that time is what you've achieved without even lifting your fingers.
I think
Fubara
another
to be
thing,
suspended, and because there was a time Fubara was, he put his neck on the line, so to say. There was that, I think it was last year, we talked about it here, when River State was going the back and forth, and now it seems like, while I know that politics is not a clean game, you must be willing to get your hands dirty in politics. At the same time, is this the ultimate resolution that ever could have been possible?
And that's a question we're going to put to our guest who's on standby. But two things as in what you said. It brings all this conversation around godfatherism. Yeah. And I remember when Fubara first took office, and he was, I can say it easier in Europe, but on test slow.
Yeah,
he was taking his time. Because
he
was also a member of Wike's cabinet. He was part of Wike's cabinet. He was, for some people they say he was handpicked to be Wike's successor. And so when he first got into government, I remember having a conversation with somebody and I said, I don't think this man realizes he's governor and that he has power. And then a few weeks later, it seemed like people started to tell him, Oga, you're governor. You do have some level of power in this situation. Yeah. That's one thing. And so this also shines the light around this conversation of godfatherism. But the other part is, does the situation in Rivers now meet what we would consider a state of emergency? And that's something that I heard a lot of people this morning has been a part of the conversation. Does it check the boxes of what you would consider to be a state of emergency? It's been a while since we've had a pipeline explosion. The president mentioned it in his speech, and a lot of people were shaking yesterday when there was that pipeline explosion. And so a lot of people don't want to go back there. We're still struggling to meet our expected barrels of oil production per day. Any resumption of even minor militant activities can absolutely affect us in the most detrimental way economically. But at the end of the day, it comes back to the people of the state of Rivers. Yeah. Does the declaration of the president, do we think it meets a state of emergency? And I know those conversations are going to continue throughout the day. Rivers is at the top of the agenda for so many people across the country. It had to be at the top of our agenda as well. But we're going to take a quick break now. Our conversation coming up is meant to focus on women in politics, and we'll get into that. But our guest is also joining us from Port Harcourt, River State this morning. We'll be talking to Nollywood legend and politician Hilda Dokubo, and we're going to get into a conversation to touch base on this issue and also speak about being a woman in politics in Nigeria. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Jasiri, where we tackle the issues that matter. Join the conversation via social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. So this morning we are joined by actor, politician Hilda Dokubo, and we will get into our conversation on women in Nigerian politics. But we need to discuss the events of Tuesday night first. Ms. Dokubo, thank you so much for joining us. It's so good to see you again.
Nice to see you too, and thanks for inviting and having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's dive straight into it. So President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in River State is at the top of the agenda everywhere today. No one can ignore that prolonged crisis that's been happening in the state since Fubara took office. Governance has almost ground to a halt in the state. So, but my question to you would be, what do you make of the president's decision? I mean, he spoke about attempting to intervene several times. Do you think enough was done?
No. And I'm perhaps going to also share a long story that I'll do the plan to keep very short. First of all, if anybody thinks that this is about Fubara and no Fubara, the person is a joker. If you recall, sometime before 2003, we had a few incidents of this kinds of issues. And at the time, because it pleased and favored everyone that was in government at the time, they decided to pay very little attention, and then they went as far as naming everybody, including small pickpockets. They named everybody militants. There was a long robe, and everybody, international community, everybody, and all the businesses moved out of Rivers State. It dropped the state to 0, and it was okay. Why? Because at the time, why was all of this done? Because at that time, the governor at the time had just been crowned the golden governor of Nigeria, and everything looked very pleasant from around here. That singular act of turning everybody into militants destroyed everything. And next thing we knew was that our governor wanted to be president. It repeated itself in Amichi's time. It repeated itself again during Nyesom's time. So it's a long economic plan that has been going on. Yeah. And Fubara came, and suddenly we all realized that the riverine communities were not so bad for development any longer, because people, places were getting connected by road. We realized that you can actually pay civil servants their money, and then that you can even give them a 13th month salary for 2 years running. I've been in Port Harcourt. I probably just travel, go on holidays and come back, but I've been here. For the first time, we had Christmas, 2 Christmas, no gunshots, nothing. The whole place was at peace. They set a trap for themselves on Saturday. Now, the first killing that happened was in Amadiama. They killed 14 boys in the name of some kind of election. I did a movie out of, a small skit out of that, and everybody said, oh, you're crying wolf. Fine, no problem, I'll keep crying wolf. But right after that, they had some kind of thing they called a joint meeting and weekend. On Saturday, they set a trap. They said they were meeting in Abalama. And my sister Boma and Co said, you people don't desecrate our land. We are fine, stay there. On harmless women, harmless as well, because they had nothing. They were throwing tear gas and water and everything. They came into Abalama, and of course, because they couldn't kill anybody, they left. If you listen to the minister's statement thereafter, he said, what is all this Ijo thing? Are they the only ones with monopoly of knowing how to blow up pipelines? He says that today, and pipeline goes off in Ogoni land. I'm a storyteller and a filmmaker. Mama Ow cry for night, Mama Pikin die for morning. They should tell us who blew up that pipe, because we haven't had any of those incidents in the last 2 years. We haven't even heard of anybody say we are militant or we're not militant. So whatever is going on is all some kind of script. We don't know who wrote it, but it looks very familiar, and we're used to the scripts that goes this way. Okay. Now we're here. I'm not a lawyer, so whether it's within his rights or not. But what I know is to declare state of emergency when there is a problem. What is the problem? There's a political misunderstanding with everything that is done. We are still in court with the Labour Party. It's still in court with the 27. The 27 defected. There's nobody in Nigeria who did not see the video. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court wants to say. After all, they took months to describe Ant when it was the 2023 election. For how many months Nigerians were waiting for Supreme Court to define Ant?
Ms. Dokubo, I want to bring up something, because you've mentioned a number of things. The Supreme Court judgment, there are those who believe that the Supreme Court really did not put the issue of the defections to rest. You've mentioned a lack of agitations, militant agitations in the past 2 or 3 years, or in the past 2 years as it may be, and also how things have been going. I listened to Asari Dokubo's rant that's going viral on social media, and I was perturbed, and I knew that it seemed that this situation was heating up. So let's go to the president's broadcast last night. He mentioned the governor, Sim Fubara, at least 3 times, if not more. And it seems that he laid a lot of the blame of this current situation and the need to take the decision he did at the governor's door. He said that the governor had refused to disown threats made by militants over this issue and that the House and the governor had not been able to work together. But people have said missing from the president's speech was any mention of the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. What do you make of that omission? And is this an issue to be laid mainly at the desk of the governor as the state's #1 resident, that he maybe did not do enough to douse tensions?
The cockroach will never be innocent in the gathering of fowls. Never, ever, no matter how you try. First of all, the president blaming the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, is almost like what Buhari did to Otom. When Otom went to him to report what the headsmen were doing with the farmers in Benue at the time, he was told to go and learn. He was told to go and learn how to live with the headsmen who were killing people from Benue. So a man comes to you and then you say to him, go and follow rule of law. Which one now? Which rule of law is he supposed to follow? The Supreme Court gave him ruling and said, go call local government election, redo it, go and represent the budget and everything. The man calls RISEC, River State Independent Electoral Commission. He gives them the mandate. We have 6 months to do this. The people are at work, they're set. He writes to say, I'm coming to left side where is befitting, because the Supreme Court has accused him of on the assembly building and liking building to the people and all kinds of things. And the man says, okay, let's agree on a befitting place for you to sit. He writes them first to say, I am coming. They lock him out. They all kept him outside. And he therefore came back. He wrote to them again, this time, a letter on his own letterhead, since they were quarreling about the old letter. Again.
All right, I think we're having some network issues there, but a number of issues that Ms. Dokubo has raised already, and it's the issues that are tending to perturb people. Even this morning, unfortunately, there have just been a lot of rumors regarding the situation on ground as it is right now at the government state house in Port Harcourt in Rivers State. Conversations happening. I know we're expecting to join one of our correspondents on the ground as well, who is in Port Harcourt, but it
leaves a distasteful taste in our mouths, and they leave Nigerians to speculations, and that is why wild stories can just be flying up and down. We need to learn to follow precedents and look at the state of the nation, of this river state. If they have enjoyed relative peace for some time, that means something somewhere is probably working. But if we do not focus on that, I think Ms. Dokubo is back.
All right, Ms. Dokubo, are you with us now?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
and I
please,
don't know where you...
no, we heard you as you were talking about... Yes, you had moved beyond the defections, and we're looking at in terms of where some of this blame around this particular situation.
He went back again to the same assembly quarters to give them the letter. He gives them a letter on the 13th, and on the 14th they wrote him another letter for gross misconduct. Okay, so why are you tagging the governor and the deputy? What has the deputy done wrong in all of this? So there's a plot, there's somebody's dream that must come true because perhaps he thinks he's bigger than the rest of the world. So what has the president been listening to? Who has he been talking to? Because it looks as if, you know, everything is wrong with Fubara, but nothing is wrong with his minister. Before that, the EK clerk died. He called him and he said, call your minister to order. He was governor when he was fighting Chibuike Rotimi. Rivers people stood by him because what Rivers people do not like is oppression of any kind. If you have finished and you have to go, let the next person serve. You don't stick yourself on top of the person's head, yelling down. What is the problem? Can Nyesom Wike come out and tell people what the problem is, other than saying, I made you a governor? Other than that, Even by that statement alone, shouldn't he be in prison? How do you single-handedly make anybody? Isn't somebody supposed to become governor by the votes of the people? Is anybody supposed to be anything by just one man's singular act? You know, so it's just sad that the lawyers will give interpretations to this. It's just very sad. All morning, all I've been doing is trying to read the Constitution again as to whether the president has the right to suspend the governor. The two of them were voted in, whatever other way they want to put it. That's what they want all of us to believe, that they were voted. So let's take that their sentence and run with it. Does he have the right? He perhaps has rights to declare state of emergency if there are emergencies, right, for which this needs to be declared. But up to Tuesday, there was none. There was absolutely none. I reside in Port Harcourt. I go out every single day to do my work, and all of you know how my work can be. It's inside every bush and every street and everything. So no, there was no emergency. And we haven't heard any news of any blown up pipe until they came in on Saturday and left. So they should tell us what happened. Who blew up the pipe? They need to tell us. Hilda Dokubo had made a statement. He said he called his boys back because he knew they wanted to set him up, and he will not allow them do that. He's now an amenable of the source, so he will not. So they should tell us, not put the blame on Siminalayi Fubara. And the Sim didn't come out to say anything. What is he supposed to say? Everything he has ever said has been used against him. So what do they want him to say?
Okay,
that
Ms.
he did not
Dokubo.
send them or he sent them. Siminalayi Fubara is not from Ogoni. Siminalayi Fubara is from Opobo.
Okay.
So what is he supposed to say? He's supposed to say, I disown them or what?
We understand that.
We
We understand that Rivers State is a peculiar and sensitive state, and we cannot deny that. And a lot of people obviously are not very satisfied with the fact that a state of emergency was declared. But the question is, if not a state of emergency, what options do you think that the president had?
One was call his minister to order. Tell his minister to focus on his responsibility. And his responsibility at this particular time is taking care of what happens in the federal capital of Nigeria. Do your work, bros. Focus. So that the man in Rivers State can also focus on his job. The amount of money that Rivers State has wasted or spent, I don't even know which adjective to use in this instance, on judiciary of all kinds is annoying, because those monies could have been used for anything else, for healthcare, for schools, for scholarship, whatever else, rather than all of this mess that is going on. Advise his minister and get him out. Call in the governor. Perhaps this time, since there's this long age gap between the two of you, speak to him like he was your son without the minister. Speak to him as your son and say whatever you want to say to him. Not embarrass him in public and make him look like he's nothing. He is something. He's the governor of Rivers State. If you want to insult a man and you insult him privately, he's perhaps able to take all of it from you. But when you insult him in public and talk to him like he was nothing, he will not take it. No man will take it. Not even my son, not a 5-year-old boy. Nobody will take it. Perhaps if he did that, and maybe called in other people if he wanted to. But declaring a state of emergency is using a sledgehammer to kill a fly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dokubo. We're going to take a quick time out now. We had invited you to join us to talk about women in politics, and when we come back from the break, we will shift gears. This is Jasiri on a very tumultuous Wednesday morning. Stay with us.
Welcome back. I'm sure you've been having a very interesting time with us on Jasiri this morning. We've had actor and politician Ms. Dokubo with us discussing the issues of Rivers State and the peculiarities from the state of emergency that was declared by our president, and of course the removal of the president. Now we're going to shift gears a little because we want to broaden our conversation. Women's participation in Nigerian politics has long been constrained by cultural, economic and institutional barriers, limiting their influence to governance. Despite making up nearly half of the population, women remain significantly underrepresented in political offices. This imbalance not only undermines the principles of inclusivity and equality, but also hampers national development by excluding women's perspectives from decision-making processes. Addressing these challenges requires deliberate policy interventions and a shift in societal attitude towards women leadership. The recent controversies swirling around Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and former Speaker of the Lagos House of Assembly, Mojisola Meranda, has reignited discussions about the systemic obstacles women face in Nigerian politics. We'll see have Hilda Dokubo, actor and politician, with us to talk more about that.
Thank you so much for still being with us, Mr. Dokubo. Now, I'm very curious, and I believe many people will be as well. You're one of our Nollywood legends. I mean, we watched you growing up, and you're a face that many of us have seen time and time again on our screens. What took you from Nollywood into politics? Why get involved in what many people see as a dirty game?
As my mother would say, I like troubled waters. I like troubled waters. So let's put it this way. I had complained too much, over and over, about things not working. And every time I complained, people will say to me, the only way to clean up this house called politics is people like you to get in. You can sweep the house out, inside the house, out of the house. And I thought about it deeply, and that's why I went in. I'm happy in politics. Don't forget that, right from secondary school, I knew a lot about governance and leadership. And I just wanted to make things work. But I'll tell you, it will not be easy for anyone, male or female, especially if you want to do this work sincerely. If you want to serve your people sincerely, it will not be easy for you. If you want to be on the side of truth, it will not be easy for you, because a lot more of these politicians are very busy with the intrigues of maneuvering one another. And women were not able to keep quiet when things are not working. And so they have tried every style, every tactic available on planet Earth. They have used all of it. First, they made sure that all we did was shout, "Oh yeah," and clap hands and dance. Now that we're insisting that we must be in the same house and take decisions, at least if not for anything, for ourselves and our children and generations to come. Let's be part of this. We have a problem. That's what took me. I just wanted for things to work better. Better, yes, we can be proud of ourselves. Leave something, leave a legacy for generations. That's how I got into politics. It's not easy, Sha.
I can imagine, really. So because of time, I want us to look at the recent issues surrounding Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. So last week, Senate President Godswill Akpabio said she was, in quote, embarrassing Nigeria, end of quote, by taking allegations of sexual harassment to the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Do you believe she was wrong to escalate the issue internationally, or was this a necessary step to highlight the gender-based injustice in the politics of Nigeria?
Tell me where Natasha could have gone, where else she could have gone. Everyone in the NAS had taken sides with their boss. Where was she going? In fact, they had even paid, including, I don't even know who, every media houses, everybody had something to say. In fact, they got to the point where they were now saying she should show proof. My beloved sisters, you're all women, please, how do we show proof that we have been sexually harassed or abused? Do we have to remove our underwears or our clothes? How do we show that proof? How? So she went to the only place that she thought, would help. At least let the world hear her out. If these ones will not hear her out. If they have raised women who served in that house, and a woman, like all the love I have, respect and everything, I don't know where I left them. For you to say because you are in the House of Reps, you have House of Senate, you have passed the age of being sexually harassed. I don't understand that. I don't. 3-year-old kids that are sexually abused and harassed, have they not reached the age, or they have reached the age? I don't understand. What's the age limitation for harassment and abuse? The 90-year-old woman who was raped, what's the age limitation? So perhaps she needs to explain that. Or for somebody to say, this house is honorable, so you cannot get sexual. I don't understand it. But what I do understand is that we will keep speaking up. If you are a young lady, an old woman, a child, and you are talked to inappropriately or touched inappropriately, say something before it becomes a rape. Say something before it becomes violent. Say something. Scream out. Shout fire. So that people can come. Because if you say he's attacking me, they will not come. Perhaps if Natasha has screamed fire, fire, fire that day, and people rush to the place and say, Natasha, where is the fire? Say, see the fire, he's touching my bum bum. Maybe it would have made sense.
I wish we had more time to just hammer in all our questions, but many have pointed out the timing of our suspension overlapping with the controversy around our allegation, and that this raises concern that it is an attempt to silence her. Given the broader history of women facing political retaliation in Nigeria, do you see this as an isolated case or part of a systemic effort to suppress female voices in government?
It's systemic. I can't see it as a singled out thing. There are a lot of women who go through things like this, but they're not as bold as Natasha. We must all admit that Natasha is bold and ready to speak up. A lot of people just take it and say, what will I do? So women need to watch out, please.
All right, so let's take a quick time out here. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into the final minutes of today's show with you, and we'll look at the issues around representation, and we look forward to you also sharing your own personal experience as a woman in politics and what we can do to change the narrative. This is Just Siri. Stay with us. Now, despite making up nearly half of Nigeria's population, women remain significantly underrepresented in political offices. Our guest is actor and politician Miss Hilda Dokubo, and she's with us. Time is running out, but there's a very vital question, because we've had female politicians join us on Jasiri. We've had women activists who are at the front lines of advocating for more women to be part of politics and governance in Nigeria, and it's always good to speak to someone who's in that space. Mr. Dokubo, can you tell us a bit about your experience during your time in politics? And in your experience, what are some of the biggest structural and cultural barriers that continue to prevent women from thriving in Nigerian politics?
First is, everybody will remind you that you're a woman. It's more like women are not human beings. Oh, what are you doing? This is a male space. Then you have those talks about who is sponsoring her and who is not sponsoring her. And by this, they mean which man is sleeping with you and which man is not sleeping with you. I would say that I don't want to say I'm lucky, but graciously, I joined the Labour Party. And the Labour Party at the time in 2022, when we all joined, we came in with the Obi wave, and we joined the Labour Party. The Labour Party was like the place for the ordinary man. So the party didn't have those many rules. It just had people willing to serve and allowed to serve. That's it. But having joined and done that election, do you know when political meetings hold?
At night.
2 a.m. in the morning. 2 2 a.m. in the morning. That's when they hold political meetings. So that's why sometimes when you hear the kind of resolutions that they reach, you know that these things were not things
done
that
in
people
clear eye.
decided with clear eye. You know, the meetings are wrong times. The venues are the wrongest. If you are a female and you are married or you have a steady relationship in your life, how do you explain to that male in your life that you have to be in a certain hotel at that time of the day? How do you even prove that nothing happened? Especially when, as you're stepping out of that place, you have a crowd of men and you are perhaps the only female in that group. They expect that all you should do is clap and dance, not talk. It's a terrible experience. But and then for the people who stay, you stay for two reasons. Either because you are extremely stubborn, and so you have decided to do it the way you know how, take all the insults and abuses as they come, and you just say to yourself, we're going to keep doing this. Or you are there because you are a token, a trophy that they have blessed your people with. Not because you deserve it, because at the end of the day, you're not going to add any value to the lives of your own people. It's a terrible experience. It's not even an experience that I can finish giving you before the end of this program. Is perhaps a story that we need a full program time to discuss, because then we can take them one at a time.
Most definitely.
What I've told myself is we are here that this Nigeria is made a good place for, if not for us, for our children and for generations unborn. So that when they come, they will know that once upon a time, to one stubborn woman, who ensured that every child that is born in Nigerian must get proper education, proper medical care, travel safely, be in a safe environment. Then when I go back to God, I can tell him, thank you, sir, for sending
Yeah, you did something. You know, I was going to ask,
so that's why we are here.
I said with the increasing conversations around gender equality, what specific legal or institutional reforms do you think or believe are necessary to ensure a fairer and safer political space for women in Nigeria? Or do you agree that we should have quotas to address this imbalance, because they've been throwing that at us for some time now, that maybe they need to quota us and fill those spaces at least to start?
I think that what we have told them is that we don't want any tokens. Yes, they can quota, they can say this, that, but we don't want any tokens. Don't throw anything at us. We're not dogs. Let us have the right to it, right? We can increase it by me encouraging you and you encouraging others, dragging more girls to attend the meeting. Let me tell you the good thing. You know, before now, in my party, we had only 2 women at the ESCO level. But right now, we have much more than that. And that's because the women that are chairmen, I'm female, I'm Rivers State, there's another female in Lagos, there's another female in Edo. We're making sure that we bring in more women, and we're training them. As we're bringing them in, we're empowering them with information. We're giving them the party constitution to read, so nobody will push them around. We're teaching them how to do it. We're telling them the things that they can insist on and the things that they can. So we will get that, and we will run the elections with them. We will gradually teach them how not to fix meetings by 2 a.m. We will insist that meetings be fixed at proper time when people are fully awake, so that they can take decisions that are enduring, not decisions that come across like people had diarrhea and then they reach the decision on their way to the toilet. You know? So we need to get things working. That's the truth of the matter. We need to have that 35%, we need to get it. We need to keep asking and asking and asking. We don't want anybody throwing anything at us and say, oh, you're getting this because you're a woman. No, but because I can, because I know how, because I'm good at what I do, and not because I'm just beautiful and all of that. And you want to describe it, oh, she's so beautiful. No, don't tell me that. I know I'm beautiful. You're not emphasizing anything. Tell me what is in my head. That's what I want to hear.
All right, so a quick question before we let you go, Ms. Dokubo. So what shifts, either culturally, institutionally, or politically, or anything, Ali, need to happen for us to see more female speakers of state houses of assembly, not forgetting that some states don't even have female legislators at all. Yeah. So what needs to happen for us to see a female governor, more women in the National Assembly, more female presidential candidates? What, Ali, do we need?
And I think particularly, Ms. Dokubo, I think particularly if you can speak to this cultural-wise, because there's a big cultural and traditional issue, particularly for us here in Nigeria, with women in leadership and governance and politics. So if you can speak to that in just about a minute, please.
Culturally, there's some cultures that don't allow women to participate in leadership. They need to look at those cultures again and expunge all harmful practices and rights that inhibit women from playing their leadership roles. They need to expunge them culturally. The religious ones, I think that when you pick up a belief, you should be able to tell yourself what you can and cannot cope with. More parties should insist on having women at the national level. We should at least have a national chairman of a party. All the national chairmen, if all 19 parties stand up, you will see all of them, all males. They need to change certain practices. We're not only good enough in the kitchen. We're good everywhere. We have sound engineers, doctors, teachers, wives, traders who are women. In fact, more times the women are more intelligent than the men around them, especially politically. We are nearly overqualified for them. Where you have a female with a first degree, what you have maximum at that level for male is WAEC or GCE. So, we need to just know that if we were able to come first in primary school and it wasn't a problem, we came first in secondary school and it wasn't a problem, why did it become a problem at the university level? Why? What are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? Women need to take their place. If you are good, you are good. Run this thing. Let's run it. Let's run it. Let's go. Let's go there. Let them win.
And that's a period.
The fourth round, some of us will get in. We don't give up. We do not give up.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Hilda Dokubo, for joining us on the show today. It's been a very thought-provoking, insightful conversation. We've explored the role of women in politics, the challenges that they face, the strides that they're making, and what still needs to change to ensure real representation and impact. And of course, we've unpacked the latest developments in Rivers State following President Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency. What does this mean for governance, security, and the people caught in the middle? And if there's anything I took away from this, women, you have to wake up, and that's on period.
Thank
you so much. Thank you once again for being a part of the discussion. Well, we'll be back again tomorrow with more stories that matter. So, from all of the ladies,
and Ms. Dokubo, bye.